folks, Professor K here. So today we're going to be learning about typography and the basics of typography using Adobe Illustrator. Now, if you haven't yet gone through the user interface tutorial, or you don't have prior experience with the Adobe Creative Suite, I would recommend at least checking out a couple of chapters in that and just making sure you're familiar with the basic terminology of what I'll be doing, because I'll be going at a pretty decent pace in this tutorial. Remember that you can stop at any time or pause and give these things a try yourself. Let's get started. All right, so here I have Adobe Illustrator open, and I'm going to do this tutorial based on the Lyrical layouts assignment that we have for our first class. So for Lyrical layouts, the goal of this assignment is really to set the text of a poem or song lyrics twice. Once using really basic, great typography that makes it really nice and easy to read, and in the second format, to do something really creative. We're going to focus on that first format today. So let's get started by setting up our document. We're going to go, and because our format size is a little bit different than these presets right here, what we're going to do is hit Create New. And you want to set this to 8 inches by 10 inches. So again, you might have started in pixels or points. If you're in any of these units, go ahead and set it to inches. And let's just type 8 by 10. Remember that you can always swap the orientation. It is okay in the second part of this assignment to swap the orientation. However, for this first part of the assignment, please leave it as a portrait orientation. Go ahead and leave all other options just the way that they are. If you don't see CMYK color and high under raster effects, just make sure that you set those right now. Go ahead and click Create. Perfect. And I'm just going to go ahead and open up my rulers. And because I don't remember where they are, I can never remember where they are, I am going to just go to my menu items, and then I'm just going to go to rulers and show rulers. Perfect. The command for that on the keyboard shortcut is Command R. So you can use that to toggle them on and off. You may also be noticing in my videos, if you look in this lower right-hand corner, that you'll start to see key presses based on my keyboard shortcuts. So anytime I say a keyboard shortcut, you can also see the exact keys I'm pressing down there. For Windows users, anytime I say Command, you can just substitute Control for that, and it will do the same thing. All right, so our goal today is to really focus on fantastic typography using a poem or song we like. You should choose your own poem or song for this. I'm going to use Only by 9 Inch Nails as my demonstration song. Now, over here in the type tool, we're going to go ahead and click that just once. And I'm also going to go to my other screen here, grab my lyrics, and then I'm just using Google to do this. Do a Control-C to copy, or a Command-C, and then with my type tool, I'm going to click and drag a nice big box, and whoa, look at all this text here. Don't worry, it's just what's called lorem ipsum. It's placeholder text to help you, if you don't know what your content is yet, just to help you design around something. And Illustrator helpfully puts it in here the minute you click and drag to create a box, or if you just click once for the type tool. I'll show you the difference in a second, but let's go ahead and do Command V to paste in our lyrics. Now, what you'll probably find is that your lyrics are too long. They're not all going to fit on one page. That's okay. Here, you'll know if that happens if you see this little red plus sign. So let's go ahead, and what happens, do you think, if we click that? I wonder. Let's go ahead and click the red plus sign, and you'll see that my cursor has changed. It now has a little ... and then some text around it. What's happening here is that we are flowing the text to a new frame. So let's just click up here, and now you can see the flow of the text is going up here. So you can choose to either shorten your poem, or if you want a challenge, you can try and set both of these in a way that will fit on the page nicely. I'm going to go for the challenge and see if I can get these to fit on my page nicely. Now, I've got my poem content in here, but one thing that I didn't do yet is put in my title. So I'm going to go back to my type tool here and just click once to create a single line. And I'm going to put only here. So what's the difference between what we did here with clicking and dragging a box and what we did here with just clicking once so that we have one line of text? Well, for one thing, when you click and drag a box, you have this frame around the outside. And when you have your select tool enabled, this will automatically happen if you just go up and hit the selection tool. Or what you can do is you can even see the keyboard shortcut. Do you see the V there? So let's pretend I was on the text tool and I hit V. That would switch me right over, way faster. One other way I think is you can do like a command click and that will do that as well. I think that's the one I'm used to. So getting back to the point, let's use V to switch to our selection tool here. You can hover over the edges of this box and actually change the width of it. And notice how the text will flow to the next line if it doesn't fit. That is what happens when you have a frame like this, when you've drawn out a frame. On the other hand, if you have just one line of text and you see the frame around it over here, I'm just going to zoom in and see these little anchor points. If you go and you hover over, you get the diagonal cursor, and let's just drag it. Whoa, look at that. We can change the size of the type. So that's the big difference between the two. Now you can stretch it, you can squish it, you can do all kinds of terrible things. Let's talk about the first rule of typography. Number one rule. You are not going to squish and stretch and do terrible things to your type. Type designers put so much work into this beautiful type. So what you are going to do every single time you do what's called a free transform, that's what you're doing here. It's a free transform. Hold your shift key, and that will keep it proportional. So we are going to keep it proportional and make it nice and big. Why do we want to make it nice and big? Do you have a guess? You probably intuitively know that titles should be bigger than body copy. But what's that called? What's the meaning behind that? It's called hierarchy. So by having this item be bigger than the content below it, our eye is drawn automatically to that title. And that's the first and most important piece of information that we have on the page. Hierarchy is determined by a number of things, not just the size of something, but the weight, the spacing around it, the placement, all kinds of things can determine hierarchy. In this assignment, I want you to focus on trying to just make sure you have really nice, clean type. All right, so what's next? We also need a subtitle here. We need something that's a little bit bigger than our content, but a little bit smaller than our title. And what do you think that subtitle's for? Just like take a moment. It's for our artist, right? We need to credit our artist. You can't go putting these lyrics on here without saying who this is by. So let's put 9-inch nails here. And what I've done to actually make this happen is I have held my Option key and just clicked and dragged, and that will always create a copy of something. Any Adobe program, holding that Option key and clicking and dragging is the easiest way to go for that. Now, in our last demonstration here, we used the edges of the frame to kind of change the type to a size that we liked intuitively. Now, let's try using the actual type size to change it to a more standard type size. So here up at the top in your Options toolbar, or if you're in a different workspace, you may see this to the right here under Character, but I always prefer to do it up here. Go ahead and click under Font Size, and let's just hover over and see what feels good. I kind of like the feeling of this 21-point type. And now we are going to double click right in here to switch to our text tool. Notice how it switched from Selection to Type tool. And we're going to say by 9 nails. Excellent. And again, I'm always clicking back in that toolbar to this Selection tool. You just want to get in the habit right away of going back to that, whether that's command clicking, whether that's hitting V. anything you can do to get yourself back onto that selection tool will make it much easier for you to work. Okay, so finally, let's do some rough work to get this all onto the page. And then we're going to talk in our next video about some of the finer points of typography, including how to select different typefaces in Adobe Illustrator and some things like spacing and line height. But for right now, let's just try and get this all on the page. I'm going to, again, just click, and then if I hold Shift, it will try and keep things aligned with other things. You can also just use this. See how these like little green lines are showing up? You can also just click and drag and kind of wait for these smart guides to show. Finally, if you're like me and you just like really like controlling where these things end up, I want this at 1 inch. So I'm just going to click and drag a guide out. And there, oh, I can see that this is just a little bit off. There we go. And let's get these closer. Gonna drag this up, and look at this. This is even flowing over into the next frame. So that's pretty neat. I'm just going to keep doing this. And it's a little bit finicky, isn't it? Look at this. I tried to get this all to fit, and it's tough because this only, like this repeated only, is just going off the page. Huh. All right, so what are some tactics I can do to try and get this to work? The first thing that I want you to pay attention to is the space around. So here I've set a 1 inch margin around my type. Let's put out some other boundaries around. Let's see if we can drag out some guides around 1 inch either way and just see how it feels. Here's our 10, so we're gonna go down to 9. So this is going to really need some finessing to get it to fit. And I can use my arrow keys just to move things by like a pixel or so. That helps. So these are set to 12 point. Realistically, 12 point font. If you were to go and print this out right now, it would feel a little large on the page. You can go down to probably like 10 or 9 safely. And really the only way to know for sure how it feels is to actually print it out. It's going to feel so tiny on your screen. Like this feels really tiny to me. I'm like, oh, this is absolutely tiny. If you have access to a printer, the best way to test this is to actually try it out with your printer. But I have a lot of text here that I'm trying to fit in and just not a lot of space to do it. So I am going to just put it down to 10 point and trust the process. The other thing that I did was I just used this frame and I kind of moved it up so that it matched the guide. And that does two things here. In my content, this goes only, and then it goes on to the next set of lyrics, and that's exactly what I want. I'm just going to kind of move this over here, and look at that. We're starting to make some progress getting this to fit. What if I drag this down? Because, you know, this is feeling a little tight up here. Did you feel that? Back up here, look, feel how tight this is. Notice the spacing here between only and by 9 inch nails, and then by 9 inch nails and the lyrics. The reason why this feels tight is because these two should be read as a group, only and by 9 inch nails, and then the lyrics are really a separate group of information that you would read after. So this is kind of like your title information, and then this is your content. So by having a closer relationship between a subtitle and your content than the subtitle and the title, it feels awkward. It feels tight. It's just not as pleasant. So let's focus on that spacing. Let's try and get some space back in here, because what I'm seeing is that I've got space to play with down here. So let's try not to break the lyrics here. There's only me. And then let's see if we can even get this. Oh, we're so close. How much more? Oh, only one. Only one line. Okay. Well, you know what? Maybe this will sort itself out in the next video. because what we haven't done here yet is picked what typeface that we want to use to set this, as well as really refine the spacing around everything. So this is great. This is great to kind of get the rough layout going, but we're going to be doing a little bit more in our next video with actually choosing which typefaces we want. We're going to set our line spacing or line height, which is the space in between each line of text. And then we're going to, really choose like how to make this more readable. So I'm not going to muck with this too much more yet. We're going to wait till the next video to give that a try. I will see you in just a moment.